Okay, so a friend of mine asked if I could show him how to clean some lobster tails, prepare the lobster tail where the meat is sitting up on top. And I didn't have a video on it, but I said, I'll find you one and I'll just send it to you. Well, I had a really hard time finding one, so I figure I'll make one real quick. It's super simple. You just take a good pair of scissors and cut all the way down the shell to the tail. Then you want to snap just these right here. That one. That one. That one probably doesn't need to, but that one definitely not, because it's just not hard enough. And then you're going to squeeze where these points are, right here. Push your thumbs in the belly, and the back will just open up. And hopefully you don't have a lobster that's molting, or otherwise the skin will try to hold on to the shell. It makes a little bit of a mess, but anyway, just pull the meat out carefully. And right there, did you hear that little click? That's when this finished breaking. That's why you want to snip these so they fold nicely in. If you don't snip them, they don't really want to fold nicely in. Anyway, pull the lobster out without separating the meat from this area. You want it to still be connected. Close it up and lay it on top. Then you want to take and cut this right here so it lays nice and butterflies open. Try not to tear the meat, just cut it. You can clean out anything left in there from the intestinal tract. That's where it runs, right there. And then that's it. You would put that right on the grill. I'll show you that in a minute. And if you fan the tail out, it'll sit nicely. You want to put your seasoning. In fact, we're going to make some saffron butter to put on this, which will probably be really good. So let's just do one more, and I'll show you how simple it is. They're really predictable. They come out the same every time. Just cut down the back till you get to the end. Snip this big thick one. Snip that one. Snip that one. That's probably good enough. Fold it in. So you stick your thumbs in here and scrape the meat away from the inside of the shell. There's that side. See, this one's sticking a little bit more, but if you just slide your thumb in there, it'll release. Break the shell the rest of the way so it folds under. Pull the meat out. These are actually still just a little bit frozen. It would be a little bit more tender in here, but it's a little frozen. I don't want to break it. I have broken them before, and you just kind of lay them on top, but this helps them to stay better if you leave that meat attached. And then we're going to cut the meat right here so that it butterflies out. And that's ready for seasoning. That's all there is to it. Pretty nice, huh? If you only wanted to see the prep on the tails, then you can just stop watching now. I've decided to go ahead and film the rest of it because, it came out really good, and I figured I had the camera out, and why not just share how I prepared these lobster tails. And that's actually an aged New York strip. I know it kind of looks like a ribeye, but it's really a New York strip there in the sink. That's actually one of my aged New York strips. I'll put the video right here on how I aged that. I think that's a 30-day aged steak. Just amazing. But anyway, I decided to make some saffron butter for these lobster tails. This is ghee. It's I'll put the link right here. I got it on Amazon. It's the best ghee I've ever had. It's rather expensive, but you only use really a little bit. It's basically clarified butter, but this particular brand uses, I don't know, really special cows that eat special grass. They process it in a particular way. I think it's the best. Anyway, you grind up the saffron. I decided to add just a little bit more, but grind it up, and then you'll need to scrape it out of the bottom because it just kind of mushes into the bottom. I use a soapstone mortar and pestle because I like the stone is very hard, but it's not like granite. It's not so hard that it crushes the food. I like to kind of mash it a little bit, but anyway, to each their own. Once you get all of the saffron ground up to a powder, you just mix it in with the clarified butter, and then we're going to heat that up later and get those flavors to really infuse. All I did here was rub this steak down with avocado oil, and then I salted it. It depends on how I'm making the steak. If I'm just grilling the steak, I go ahead and do a full-on seasoning, whatever I'm going to do. If I'm searing the steak, which I'm going to do in this video, I only put salt on it because I find that the searing just burns off whatever seasoning you put on it. This is a Alfresco 56-inch all-grill model. They make a 56-inch with a side burner, which is really just a smaller grill with a side burner. But this 56-inch all-grill is just amazing. I've rotisseried. Actually, I'll show you that real quick here. I never really liked rotisserie because you had to hook up the little motor, and it never worked when I needed it. This grill, the motor is built in, it's chain driven, and it's mounted under the grill. Yep. So we're rotisserieing way more frequently, and I'm going to do a review on this grill, and I'll show you that in the future. But these chickens came out amazing. I just love using it, and the griddle feature is awesome. I've never had a griddle before. This griddle is actually made to replace one of the cooking grates, but I found that it works really great just sliding it around. So here's everything I brought outside. We've got that clarified butter with the saffron mix, a couple limes. I did put pepper and salt on the lobster tails there. I actually forgot to film that, so they do have salt and pepper on them. This ghee does not have any salt in it. It's not a salted clarified butter. And you do need to heat it up to get the saffron to kind of release its flavors. It has a really floral smell and a very fresh taste if you haven't cooked with saffron. I put a little bit of lime in there, and that cast iron pan. I'll actually put a link right here for my cast iron collection, but I love these pans, especially out here on the grill. They really work great. So there's the sear station. It's ripping hot, and that steak is, keep in mind, it's aged, so the fat kind of is condensed. It's not as fatty as it would be if it wasn't aged, but yet it still flames up like that. And you can see why I don't put any other seasoning other than salt, because the salt tends to kind of caramelize into the meat, as opposed to pepper and other spices, which I believe would just burn off. Anyway, I left this all in real time because I wanted you to see how long I sear that steak for. And it comes out perfect. I actually cooked this a little bit more than I would if it was just for me. My wife, doesn't like it super rare. But all this time on the sear station there, and the middle of that steak was still only about 85 degrees, once I pulled it off. The lobster tails, I start them off on direct heat. I get a little bit of that butter mixture poured over the top to get it to kind of glaze. And then right now I have the right-hand burner on, the one left. The burner underneath the cast iron pan is off, and of course the sear station is still on full, and I'm about to shut that off. I take that steak and cook it on one side and then rotate it about 45 degrees and continue to sear it so I get a nice X pattern. And then I think the mistake I was making early on using this sear station is I wasn't leaving it on the one side long enough. So there's the 45 degree turn to get those nice diamond pattern. And like I said, I left this all in real time. So there I just shut off the sear station. I'm about done with that. I'm going to start to set the grill up for indirect heating here in a minute. So being able to slide that griddle around is really great. I just move it right over to the sear station, put the steak there in the middle. I'm going to move the lobster tails over to the middle after I pepper the steak. That's a pepper cannon, by the way. I did a video on that. It's amazing. I'll put the link right here. It's made by Man Kitchen. It produces the most volume of pepper ever, and their pepper brand is actually very good. It's a little pricey, but the aroma and flavor from their particular brand or type of peppercorn is really, really good. I have a future review on that. But anyway, we're going to get a little bit more of that butter sauce on these lobster tails. And we'll... The nice thing about the way these lobster tails are sitting on top of the shell is you really don't have to worry about them burning. There's an air gap in between the tail and the heat source that helps keep them baking up on top there, and none of the meat gets burned at all. So what I'm doing here is I shut off that center burner and I turned back on the left burner. So now I'm going to indirect heat these to finish them off, kind of bake them. With those two burners and the amount of cooking that we've been doing, this grill will get to about 500 degrees in no time. And once I closed it up, I left it about 6 minutes. Let it get up to that 500 degree point. Put the steak back on, and here's what we ended up with. You can really see that yellow saffron coming out in the butter. I left the spoon inside, so I'm using the tongs here to just put a little bit more. I'm not getting that flare up anymore because I have that center burner off. I'm going to move these over to the direct heat just to finish them off. They were at about 132, I think, when I checked them last, and I'm going to take them off at about 136, 137, because you want the finished temp to be 140. And then I brought that steak up to 130. That's a little bit too much for me, but you can see how much time we had here to not ruin that steak. And this dish came out amazing. So here's how I decided to plate this meal. A lot of times my wife and I will just cook one steak and just slice it up and put it over rice or noodles or vegetables or even a salad. Just came out perfect. I mean, aged meat is just so rich and flavorful, and this is only salt and pepper, and it's just so good. So that was the better presentation. I didn't fan that other tail out, which I just forgot, taking the video and whatever. I'm really into the whole presentation, as you can tell. I wish that other tail was fanned out like that because it really makes for a nice look. And that's pretty much it. We did some Brussels sprouts in the air fryer. Actually, my wife did that. They came out really good. If you don't have an air fryer, I recommend getting one. They're super versatile. And as soon as we get those Brussels sprouts on here, that will be it. Meal completed. Ready to eat. Look at that. Look at that yellow saffron glaze on that lobster tail. It just amazing. Amazing, amazing. Thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you have any comments, please leave them. I really enjoy reading and replying to the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. See ya.